You've been showing up, posting consistently, writing captions you're proud of, and at the end of the month, crickets. Maybe a handful of likes from people you already know, 0 sales, 0 inquiries, just you, your content, and a growing suspicion that maybe this whole thing just doesn't work for people like you. I want you to stick with me on this one because by the end, I'm going to show you something that's going to completely change how you think about the content you're creating. Not just what to post, but what your content is doing in the first place. And I'm going to share a resource that's helped a lot of women go from content that gets crickets to content that converts to income. Because here's the thing, the problem isn't that your content's not good. The problem is that good content and converting content are two different things. And nobody tells you that until you've wasted a year finding out the hard way. Here's what most people believe about content. If it's valuable enough, people will buy. So they pour more into every post, more tips, more detail, and more effort. Then you wonder why your most educational content drives the least amount of revenue. It's because value isn't the trigger for conversion. Trust is. And trust isn't built by giving people more information. It's built when your audience feels understood. When someone in your audience reads your words and thinks,
how does she know exactly what I'm going through right now?
That's how trust is built. Stop thinking about your content as a way to show what you know. Start thinking about it as a way to make your viewer feel like you know who they are. Here's the thing. We've been sold a version of content creation that keeps us busy without making us profitable. We've been told to use our content to educate, to give value, to prove what we know before we ever ask for the sale. And there is some truth in that, but it's not the whole truth, because you can share all the right information in all the right formats and still not convert a single person, because information alone doesn't move people. Emotion does. Belief does. It's that moment where someone sees themselves in your words and thinks this is exactly what they needed. That's what converts. The moment someone feels truly seen in your content is the moment they start paying attention to what you're selling. And that's not manipulation. That's connection. And that's what converts. So how do you build content that does this? I want to give you a framework I call C.A.R.E because that's what your content needs to do before it sells anything. C is for capture the moment. Your content has to open in the middle of your viewer's experience, not your experience. So don't start with who you are and what you're going to teach. Start in the middle of their frustration, their question, their Tuesday at 11 o'clock at night when they're scrolling instead of sleeping because something isn't working. Capture the moment they're living in right now. That's what makes someone stop scrolling. That's what turns a stranger into a viewer who binge watches your content. A is for affirm, don't advise. Most content skips straight to the advice, but advice without acknowledgement feels cold. It feels like a prescription from a doctor who doesn't know anything about what you're feeling. Before you teach anything, affirm what they're feeling, name it, normalize it, and let them know that what they're experiencing makes complete sense given where they are. The fastest way to earn trust is to reflect someone's reality back to them before you offer a single solution. R is for reframe the problem. This is where your unique perspective becomes your competitive advantage. Anyone can share tips, anyone can list steps, but not everyone can shift how someone sees the problem itself. A reframe doesn't give your audience a new answer, it gives them a new question. And a better question changes how they move forward. The reframe is also the most shareable moment in your content. This is what people screenshot. This is what they send to a friend. And that doesn't happen by accident. It's what happens when a perspective hits different. E is for earn the next step. Conversion doesn't happen because you asked. It happens because you earned it. By the time you extend an invitation, whether that's to a product, a training, or a free resource, your viewer should already be nodding along. She should already be thinking,
yes, I want more of this.
That's when a call to action sticks, not before this point. It's when you lead with C, A, and R, the E becomes a natural conclusion, not a pitch. It feels like the logical next move because it is. C.A.R.E. And I want you to notice something. None of those 4 steps are about you. They're all about your audience. I want to challenge something that a lot of content creators, coaches, and online service providers have been told to believe. And that is your job is to give as much free value as possible and the sales will follow. That's incomplete advice. And it's kept a lot of talented women financially stuck. Content isn't just a generosity exercise. It's a trust building, belief belief shifting, decision making tool. And when it's working right, it doesn't just teach people, it moves them. It changes what they believe is possible for them. And it changes how they see themselves. Content that converts doesn't just solve a problem, it repositions the person seeing it. That person goes from,
I don't know how to do this,
to,
I can do this, and I know where to start.
and that shift, that internal repositioning, that's what comes before the purchase. People don't buy information. They buy the version of themselves they believe they can become with your help. And here's what that means for you. The content you're creating right now might be perfectly crafted and still not converting because it's informing without repositioning. It's sharing without shifting. It's giving without guiding. The most powerful content doesn't make someone feel like they learn something. It makes someone feel like they finally understand something about themselves they couldn't quite articulate before. And there's a difference between leaving a video thinking, well, that was helpful, and leaving a video thinking, you know, I've been thinking about this all wrong. Because one of those produces a like and the other produces a purchase. Keep watching because I want to show you exactly how to fix all of this. So everything I've been talking about up to this point, the trust, the reframing, and the directional content, it all exists to do one thing, and that is convert. And if you're watching this thinking, I want content that builds income, but I'm not sure what to build or where to start, I have a free training for that. It covers what most women get wrong when they try to start and why structure matters more than having a big audience or a long resume. Drop income down in the comments and I'll make sure you get all the details. Now, let me describe something you might recognize. You create a post, you spend some real time on it. This post is helpful. You hit publish and people love it. You get comments, shares, saves, and then nothing. No one buys, no one reaches out. All you got was engagement that doesn't translate into income. Listen, that's not a visibility problem. That's an alignment problem. Your content delivered value, but it didn't point anywhere. There was no natural next step, no invitation that felt like a logical conclusion to the journey you just took your audience on. Content that converts isn't just good, it's directional. Every piece of content you publish should be moving someone toward a belief, a decision, or an action. Not every post needs to sell something, but every post should move someone one step closer to trusting you enough to buy. When you build content through that lens, the whole game changes because you stop asking, what should I post? And you start asking, what does my audience need to believe before they're ready to take this next step with me? That question alone will transform the way you approach what you create, because when you know where you're taking your audience, every post becomes a step on that path instead of a random act of helpfulness. Content with direction feels completely different to the person consuming it. There's coherence to it, a sense that you're being led somewhere, even if you can't quite put your finger on exactly where. And that feeling of being guided by someone who knows where they're going is one of the most powerful trust signals that exist in this space. I want you to think about the last piece of content you created, the one that you were really proud of. Maybe it got great engagement. Maybe people saved it, shared it, commented that it hit home, and then nothing happened. You got no sales, no inquiries, just the quiet satisfaction of having made something good that didn't go anywhere. That's not a content failure, that's a clarity failure. Your viewer felt something and then they had nowhere to take it. Your content did its job and then it left your audience standing at the door with no handle. Content that converts doesn't just create a feeling, it gives that feeling some direction. Content that converts answers the question your audience is already asking in their head, which is, okay, so now what do I do with all this? Before she even has to ask that out loud. The gap between content that gets saved and content that converts usually isn't the quality of the content itself. It's whether or not the path from this feeling to the next step is clear enough that your audience doesn't have to figure it out on their own. When your content is clear about where it's taking someone, it changes the game, because then your audience doesn't have to work to connect the dots. They just follow the thread you already laid. If you're sitting with this right now and something in you is saying, I think I finally understand what's been missing, I want you to take the next step. I put together something called 2K in 2 hours. It's built specifically for women who are done creating content into a void and are ready to understand how to build something that threads their content to something to convert to. Because Because the moment your offer exists, your content changes. Because now every post has a destination. Every video has a point. Every "this is so good" comment you get becomes a conversation that can actually go somewhere. You can get 2K in 2 hours on my website at herincomeedit.com, or just click the link down in the description. Here's the thing. A lot of women spend months, maybe even years, creating content without a clear offer behind it. They build an audience of people who love their content, and then they never buy anything because there was never anything to buy. They've been generous without being directional. 2K in 2 hours is the step that changes that, because the goal here isn't to go viral. The goal here is to generate income. If you're new here, my name is Nick Scott, and I help women turn their existing skills into coaching, income, digital products, and online businesses. If you're building something from the skills you already have and you want to know how to turn those skills into income, I want you to watch this video next. Okay? I'll see you there.